All right. While people slowly file in, I guess we can just slowly get started. I have the pleasure of welcoming Espen from Kompasbank today to this day's hug. Espen and I have worked together for a couple of years now on a HubSpot implementation and an ongoing admin of that and an ongoing rollout, which is part of what we'll be talking about today. Espen, you will be introducing yourself in a second, but before that, maybe I should just take a brief second to introduce myself. I've been attending these hugs as a co-host a couple of times, but have now formally taken over from Lotte, our previous hug owner, together with Lars, who's still our co-hug runner, and Michela, who's going to be an assisting hug runner as well. But I am Emil. I'm a co-founder of Helion B2B together with Lotte, and have been heading up our HubSpot and tech team. So we thought would probably make sense if anyone is to take over the torch from Lotte after her great work on this hub, that it would be me together with Lars, who's a senior advisor in our team. But while people file in, Espen, I would actually like to just hand it over to you and allow you to introduce yourself and what we've been working with and who Kompasbank is.
Yes, thanks a lot, Emil. Pleasure to be here today. Very excited about the opportunity to go through our experience with working with HubSpot for the past couple of years now. I'm heading up customer experience and growth here at Kompasbank, and have been here for 4 years now. I have a background from banking, so been with various large institutions over the last 20 years. And when we started using HubSpot here at Kompasbank, you would say CRM was actually quite new to me as a sort of hands-on tool. I obviously knew the concept of CRM and so on, but hadn't really worked with it in the past. But thanks to Emil and so on and the entire Helion team, I've ventured into the world of CRM over the past couple of years and have learned a lot. But let's have a look at the agenda for today. I will briefly talk about Kompasbank and who we are. Then I'll go through a bit about what caused the trigger for the change of going into HubSpot. Go through the rollout in the various iterations that we've done. I'll also briefly talk about change management, so how we came about that, and then some final thoughts on sort of the next evolution, what's ahead of us right now in the coming years, and some final thoughts on this, and hopefully some recommendations that some of you could perhaps utilize in your work with HubSpot or any CRM for that matter. So Kompasbank at a glance. We are a fully digital business bank built for SMEs that want more than just a traditional bank account. We cut the red tape, skip the slow-moving bureaucracy, and give you exactly what you need: fast, flexible financing, expert advisory, and digital banking solutions that work at your speed and convenience. So in other words, we are trying to help SMEs reach their full potential, and are really focused and dedicated on helping SMEs, so small and medium enterprises, to be successful in a ever-changing world of challenges. Few facts about us. We got our bank license and had our market launch back in 21, so 4 years ago. Ahead of that, our CEO and founder had worked for a couple of years on founding the bank, but we went into the market in 21. We serve two primary customer segments, so SMEs and private depositors. We are in Denmark. with direct business. We have partnerships in Germany and Spain, and soon we will be moving into to other parts of the EU with our direct business. That's also our ambition. That is to become a truly pan-European SME bank. We are currently 65 full-time employees in our headquarters here in Vedbæk in Denmark, so a bit north of Copenhagen. And also importantly, we are a fully regulated bank under the Danish Finanstilsyn. Yes. So a few things about our journey so far. So as I mentioned, we went into the market in 2021. And essentially with a fairly simple value proposition of providing SMEs with various financing options. So essentially lending to SMEs, but to established SMEs. So not the very new, very small entrance to the SME space, but established SMEs that have been around for a couple of years, but could use more capital for their growth journey. So we're focused on lending to that segment. But also as a fully regulated bank, we are able to cater for deposit customers and have various offers to private depositors with various savings accounts and so on. So a fairly simple business model, you could say. It's not simple to run a bank and to operate a bank, and also with all the regulation, but the value proposition itself is fairly simple. So lending to SMEs and deposits from private customers. So over the years, we've obviously grown quite a bit. We also established the partnerships, as I mentioned, back in 23, so a couple of years ago. And then last year, we also added more products to our SME offering, and now also offering leasing and foreign exchange payments, conversions, and so on to SMEs. Right now, we are going through a digital transformation. It might sound a bit funny, as we are a truly digital bank, but nevertheless, we are rebuilding our digital capabilities. So rebuilding our digital onboarding for all customer types, and also adding to our self-service capabilities and digital platforms. So a very exciting time for us right now, and also a time where this digital transformation really ties well into our HubSpot journey that we've been going on for a couple of years. We've grown also in terms of customers since we launched. Obviously, this chart here is from 23, and obviously we had quite significant growth from 21, as we came from like 0 customers. But even over the past couple of years, we've also grown our customer base quite rapidly, and that growth is important in sort of the future story in this presentation today. So I'll get back to that. We are also very happy to see that what we offer to customers is actually something they appreciate. So we have fairly high net promoter scores from both our SME customers and private deposit customers. And the NPS is something that we measure through HubSpot. So also just a key thing for us, that we can actually measure this very easily through HubSpot. So why HubSpot? What was the trigger for? I brought a statement here about growth creates complexity, and complexity is the silent killer of growth. So back in 2023, a couple of years into our story as a bank, we had grown quite a bit, both in terms of employees here at our small but mighty bank, but also in terms of our business reach. So suddenly we were experiencing a bit of complexity, as when we had launched, we were quite a small team, and also you would say our business reach was not magnificent from day one. So obviously we had good oversight of ongoing deals and pipelines, and could easily sort of keep track of what was going on. But a couple of years into this, we saw a lot of complexity around the higher, you would say, sales funnel and deal pipeline and so on. And that sort of rapid agile mindset and so on, when you start a business and you also just a few people, as soon as you become more people, you start to see complexity. So we had a clear need of simplifying our lead and sales processes in order to enable scalability and future growth. So our sales funnel reality in 23, it was essentially a leaky bucket. So whenever we had 100 opportunities, we were losing 99. It's also important here to say that the SME business that we do is really based on outbound activities. So we are reaching out to customers that we have identified in our lead model, that we believe we can help with additional financing to support their growth journey. So we have a sales support team that is doing a lot of cold calling, essentially, reaching out to potential customers and going through our value proposition and so on. But back in 23, we saw that for every 100 opportunities we reached out to, only one of them became successful. So a lot of drop-offs throughout the sales funnel. Furthermore, it was very difficult for us to keep track on the existing pipeline and also follow up on the past opportunities. So throughout the sales funnel, obviously, leads are falling out at every step, but we also had difficulties in managing that in a structured way and ensuring that we could follow up on those leads at a later point in time. So we had a couple of options. We could either hire more people and also make the bucket larger, pour more leads into it, or we could try to fix the leaks. We obviously went for the latter. So some of the key issues that we were facing. As I mentioned, our sales funnel was very fragmented, but also with a lot of manual work involved. We didn't have a proper CRM at that time. We only had sort of our proprietary lead model with a home-built or in-house built platform to identify those leads and also manage those leads to a certain extent, but it was not a CRM. So a lot of you would say the CRM management happened in Google Sheets and notes and calendars and so on. So a lot of effort with also a lot of sort of lack of transparency across to other team members or even other teams in the bank. So we really lacked a structured system to manage those leads efficiently. We also had very little insights into the funnel performance. So it was difficult for us to really see where are potential customers in the funnel, at what stages are they dropping out. And every time we had to do some analysis, it was very manual and labor intensive, and going through emails, calendars, Google Sheets and whatnot in order to get those data points out. We also had major drop-offs at certain key stages of the funnel, and we saw that we could easily, by fixing some of these steps and the flow through the funnel, we could probably grow sort of the conversion rates with at least 1 to 3 times in the entire funnel. So a lot of issues back then. A couple of things that we knew we had to improve. So this is an example of some of the analysis that we did for our sales funnel with 5 steps in the funnel. And as you can see here, quite a drop off in every step, and essentially resulting in 100 opportunities would only result in 1 deal that we would win. So we definitely had to boost conversion rates, streamline the sales process, and also start to use data in a lot better way to drive smarter decisions. A key thing for us was also to follow up on lost opportunities and build a proper structure and automation around that in order to identify when to re-engage with leads and opportunities. So with the model or the sales approach that we have, obviously we can identify customers that we believe would be a good fit for us. But on the other side, the customer also needs to recognize that we are a good fit for them and the timing is right, and so on. So there can be a lot of good conversations, but maybe the timing is not right, and we should follow up in 6, 12, 18 months or whatever. And in order to have a good structure around that, we really needed to have a system where we could manage the sales funnel. Finally, we also needed to bridge our marketing and sales efforts. So those efforts were also disconnected back then. So we had marketing and also branding efforts to initially create awareness about our brand, as we are a completely new bank in the Danish market. But then also, as we would see marketing qualified leads down through the funnel, we would have to get those into the sales funnel and ensure that there was a data handover, and we would see where the leads actually coming from, what works, what doesn't work, and attribute that to the various activities that we have. So we had a few opportunities to scale more efficiently by going with HubSpot. I've tried to put that into 3 things that were key for us. So before going into HubSpot, a lot of our sales activities would be based on what I call individual best effort. So down to the sales manager to be very much on top of his or her sales pipeline, and ensuring that we would have like structured follow-up and ensure that we would convert leads into the next step of stage of the funnel and so on, but very much down to the individual. With HubSpot, we would get a lot better insights and structure around this, really to enable data-driven sales and marketing. Point number 2 was the manual lead handling and inconsistent follow-up. Also a key issue for us in what we did before. And with HubSpot, we would get much more quality into the leads, as we would be able to collect more data about the leads and nurture them through the funnel to ensure better conversion, and also with less effort than what we saw before. Finally, we had the disconnected tools and siloed teams, and with HubSpot, we could get a central platform for all our go-to-market activities. So the implementation steps, as we identified back then, we started out with or wanted to start out with focusing on the lead management, because that was really sort of a key issue for us, was to manage our entire lead pipeline and enable sort of all the good things we have from the lead model, enable that in a much better context than what we had back then. So really build the foundation with lead management. But then also looking at sales optimizations with structured workflows, pipelines, and so on to drive conversions. And then in later stages, we would look at the customer lifecycle with the marketing setup and also integrations to various data and tools and so on. And finally, the loyalty part with also support and insights. So that was how we saw it back then, at least. So the iterative rollout, a key thing for us was to start small, but thinking big. So we didn't want to sort of tackle all the issues at once, but really just start out in one area, but with the perspective that we could probably utilize all the various hubs within HubSpot in a much better way over the years. So we didn't implement everything at once. We took things as we needed them, and also based on how ready we were at that time. So the HubSpot rollout, we started focusing on lead management within sales and the structured pipeline, basic tracking, data discipline. Then moving on to marketing with email marketing, forms, landing pages, campaigns, and whatnot. And then looking at support, so setting up our ticket pipelines for support, assisting customers with a knowledge base, and then finally within operations, enabling more of our customer onboarding and activation through the use of HubSpot. I've also brought in some examples here on the right with newsletters, forms, and an example of the conversion throughout the funnel. So really utilizing a lot of things here. The timeline itself, as mentioned a couple of times, we started out with the Sales Hub, really focusing on the CRM part and the deal pipelines, but then also using playbooks to ensure consistency in data capture from potential customers, and also really assisting our sales managers when they were meeting customers and so on. Key thing was also to set up workflows and automation. Initially, Emil can definitely confirm that there was a huge appetite to save clicks. So wherever we could see potential for automation or workflows and so on, we were trying to set that up. Obviously, also getting insights from day one with the various dashboards. This also really resulted in turning off Google Sheets, at least for sort of sales and CRM purposes, and a key thing for us to avoid having a lot of follow-up and so on in places which it really doesn't belong. The second part of the timeline here was moving into the marketing hub and setting up email marketing. So we got rid of MailChimp, I would say also fairly easily, with using HubSpot for all our newsletters and workflows for customers that subscribe to various things and so on. And then later on, we've added management of social media and campaigns and so on within the entire marketing setup. The Service Hub was also something that we were aware of from day one. At that time, we were using Freshdesk for managing incoming support queries and so on, but really didn't want to implement everything at once. So we said, well, okay, it's fine. We use Freshdesk for support. We know that we could actually use HubSpot for this, but decided to wait a bit and integrate that later on. But then setting up our ticket pipeline and knowledge base, utilizing the help desk, and then lately, actually this week, we've set up an agent on our website based on AI, also built in HubSpot. We've also used the Content Hub with forms, landing pages, A/B testing those, and ventured slightly, I would say, into Content Remix. So enabling ourselves of smart utilization of certain pieces of content to turn that into other pieces of content. So taking an article, turning that into a newsletter, a LinkedIn post, or even an ad is something that we can use Content Remix for. I think we could probably still utilize it better. We also use other AI tools for that, but it's certainly an interesting area.
I think it's also fair to say, Esben, that it still has its challenges with local language, but if anyone has good experiences with how to solve for that using Remix, I think we're very open to input and knowledge sharing there as well.
Yeah, exactly. And we've also seen that, I would say, with AI tools, also the ones within HubSpot, so also the co-pilot and so on. We have started using that, and I would say the evolution of how it works is pretty good in terms of like, I don't know, 6 months ago or whenever we started looking at this, it was really not good in utilizing Danish content, but it starts to improve, definitely. We also get very easy access to insights with HubSpot. A funny thing here is that Emil actually just helped us set up a data discipline leaderboard, because that's also been key in our implementation to secure data discipline among our users of HubSpot, ensuring that they actually update their deals and companies and contacts and so on. So that's another thing you can do inside the system. Change management in a banking environment. Everybody wants change, but nobody wants to change. So for us, we needed a cultural shift of moving bankers into CRM territory and really also enforcing the data discipline. I think a key thing here for our success in this area was really a lot of regular sessions when we started using HubSpot, with a like intensive training, half day, full day workshops, follow-ups, and so on with our entire sales team to ensure that they really sort of embraced the tool and could figure out how to work with it. But also having central team champions has also been key. So really a strong ownership of ensuring that we constantly evolve with the system and ensure that whatever we set out to do, that we continue to do that and continue improvement and so on. But also a reality check on the way. It does take some patience, because suddenly I think maybe a few months in, we started hearing that the old system of Google Sheets and our own developed sort of lead system was way better than trying to use HubSpot and so on. So there will be ups and downs in an implementation, and it definitely requires a bit of patience and repetition, I would say. HubSpot is now a very core part of how we operate. So we have our sales support team fully onboarded to HubSpot, with the outbound calling primarily to potential opportunities and so on. We have our sales team with a direct relationship field sales, where our sales managers are in the field visiting customers across Denmark and using HubSpot on the go as well. We have our deposit sales team here supporting our deposit customers. We have a marketing team using email marketing campaigns, landing pages, and so on. Operations using HubSpot for onboarding and activation of new customers, and then finally, obviously, a lot of insights and forecasts and so on for various level of management throughout the bank. The next evolution and a bit about AI, data, and CMS. I think, as I just talked about with our our head of marketing yesterday. The biggest challenge is really keeping up. It's not catching up. So I think when we started using HubSpot, we sort of really wanted to catch up on all the good things that we could start using the system for. But now it really seems that our biggest challenge is keeping up with the pace of like new features, new functionality, smarter ways of doing things, and so on. And I think, maybe before I dive into the specifics here, I think another example that we saw a couple of weeks ago was that the forms that we've built and integrated to our website, we took a look at those and said, what if we were to build those once again, and suddenly realized that there were a lot of new features available for building those forms in much smarter ways and better design and so on. So I think that was also a learning for us, that we really need to revisit some of the things that we've done and used for a while to see, okay, could we actually do this smarter? But what is really next for us is first of all, AI first approach. I think that goes for a lot of companies these days. So we're trying to move from simply applying AI in some of the things we do to designing our processes around it. We've only just, I would say, started on this, but we are really trying to embrace AI features and really starting. When we start something new, we see, okay, could we actually use AI for this? So again, now a couple of years into using HubSpot, our sales managers might have a couple of years of history with one client, and it can be difficult to get an overview of that. And obviously, we could try to design various views and data points to be extracted on that client, to surface those in notes or whatever on the client in HubSpot. But instead of trying to do that, we're trying to see, okay, could we actually just say, okay, there's a lot of complexity in getting an overview of a client with like 5 different deals, a lot of contacts throughout the years. Could we simply apply AI to that and see, okay, can that actually give us an overview? And I think that is probably the way forward for us, as an example. HubSpot will also be key in our market expansion. So it will have to support us when we scale across products. It's already done that, but then also across countries and customer types. So I would say primarily we've used HubSpot for the B2B business, so our SME business, but also I would say probably over the last 6 to 12 months, we really started using it for our private customers as well, more in sort of let's say transactional type of emails and bulk updates to private customers and so on. But that's an opportunity for us as well to utilize that even more. On the sales approach, we will be moving from a high touch to smart touch. So a lot of our sales so far with the relationship-based sales field or sales managers in the field is very much high touch. So we are meeting the customers at their own premises, spending a lot of time with them, understanding their needs, and really trying to cater for their needs in identifying smart solutions for them and being clever around that. But we really need to move towards being more smart around that. So combining all the good things we have in the relationship-based sales activities with very intelligent digital execution. And finally, we are also looking into utilizing HubSpot as our CMS, so our content management system, to manage our website and really connect the end-to-end journey from website marketing, sales into one seamless data-driven funnel, and really harvest a lot of smart insights and so on from doing that. A few takeaways and final thoughts. So a few things here. It's important to start focused, but then also thinking big. So we focused very much on the lead and sales processes initially, but had a clear vision of enabling HubSpot as sort of a core part of how we operate in the bank. So using it for marketing, using it for support and operations and so on. And I would say we are really getting there as a business. Also build momentum quickly by focusing on sort of some of the low-hanging fruits, really get some quick wins, get people to see that it's actually helping them in the day-to-day business. Also get some of the insights out and really get some wins. That's really what we did. You can also treat it as a growth engine. So HubSpot evolved with us. It is probably more correct to say that we evolved with HubSpot. But nevertheless, we went from CRM to a full funnel orchestration across the entire organization, more or less. So it's definitely something that can support growth, and if you start to think it into any process, any customer-related activity, and so on, it's really something that can support your growth. And then, as I mentioned before, keep evolving. So I think in order to be successful here, you constantly need to rethink the setup as you grow. So whether it's forms on your website or the sales funnel, is that actually sort of the deal pipeline that we've set up? Is that the way it should be set up? Could we do it smarter? What are the handoffs between teams? Could we automate some of those? I think that's a given. You really need to rethink your setup more or less all the time. So did we also achieve what we wanted? I mentioned earlier that we wanted to boost conversion rates, follow up on lost opportunities, and bridge marketing and sales. So at least some of the things we've seen, we've had a 6 to 8 times improvement in our conversion rates. So quite significant improvement in those. Probably not entirely only due to HubSpot, but definitely we now have the support from a system that we needed. We also have very structured follow-up on lost leads with insights into why we lost them, but then also when to re-engage. So really, when leads are dropping out of the sales funnel, we put them in at some time in the future and reconnect with them. And that often turns out very successful. We also have the end-to-end funnel management in HubSpot from first click to close deal. So we have the insights from our marketing activities over sales activities and all the way until we close a deal. Can we still improve? Yes, absolutely. So I would say we are probably only, even though it feels like we've come a very long way in using this, sometimes it feels like we're only halfway there. So we could definitely do a lot more and improve in many, many areas. So I think a final closing comment here. And I mean, HubSpot really helped us or even forced us into rethink our sales funnel. So that was the starting point. How does our sales funnel actually work? But it actually ended up changing the way we work.
Very nice.
Yes. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Esben. Very interesting journey, and thank you so much for sharing it. We've gotten a bunch of questions already in the Q&A. We've only got a little time left, but let's see if we can get your take on some of them here. Matthias had a couple of interesting questions here. He mentioned, how are you catering for the modern buyer journey where prospects and customers prefer to spend the majority of their time evaluating vendors on their own? Do you have any async selling or have plans in place for aligning how you sell via HubSpot with how buyers expect to buy asynchronous?
I would say we can still be a lot smarter around that. But a lot of our sales process today is also, you would say, very technical. So it's not like standardized sales. It's lending. So there's a lot of complexity in actually doing let's say a 5 million kroner loan to an SME. So a lot of that is not really something where you can necessarily sort of standardize the buyer journey completely. And I think we can still be a lot smarter in sort of nurturing leads before we start to move into the actual sales part. And I think that was the first part of the question here. I think that's where I still feel we have a lot of room for improvement. That is really how we nurture leads and make sure that we only sort of try to put a hook in them when they are truly ready for it. That's definitely a key area for us to improve.
Yeah, and maybe moving into some product lines where this can become a more relevant challenge as well. Not that it's not
Yes.
in here, but where it will be even more so.
Yeah.
Matthias also asks, what was the biggest challenge going through this change management? Any best practices for getting the sales team excited about this?
I think they were pretty excited when we started, because sort of their daily work was cumbersome, going through Google Sheets and also you would say every time there was some sort of management demand for data insights on the lead funnel and so on, they would have to do a ton of manual work. So the outlook of getting this into a system where they could avoid this was exciting for them. But then, as I also mentioned, so they were excited about sort of the change, but then when reality hits the fan, it's sometimes it's difficult to change habits. So I think the repetition of the same messages over and over again, and also really trying to set the bar low, and even when you're in the 5th training session, going through the same things as you went through in the first training session, be patient about it, and not trying to put sort of more things on top of what you started out with. So really trying to take it slow and then repeat the messages over and over again.
Or after 2 years having to implement a data discipline dashboard for the future.
I would say we could probably benefit from a rerun of the very first training session that we did 2 years ago, right?
But I definitely saw like an S curve in adoption where in the very first stages, but we're talking more minutes and hours than days and months here, high skepticism, very quickly adopting the majority of the system. But then it is still traditional banking people we're working with. So still objections here and there to working really digital first and not just being like a full field sales team. Want to run out and meet people and call them. And then slowly over the years adopting, okay, they can actually see champions in the team that have a high success rate with really leaning into not just logging your calls and deals, but actually fully utilizing what it can do. Jeb also asked whether you integrated your KYC process into HubSpot.
Only parts of it, and I would say that was also a concern for us when we started using HubSpot. That was on the you would say both some data privacy concerns, but also when we started using HubSpot 2 years ago, we couldn't use HubSpot for sensitive data, but that I think that was a feature that was rolled out maybe summer last year, and that actually enabled us to capture some of the sensitive data points from at least our private customers in some of the onboarding we do with private customers. We need sort of an annual tax statement or another document that is of a sensitive nature. Then we've set up sensitive data collection for that. So that's only part of the KYC, know your customer journey that we use HubSpot for. But otherwise, we use other systems for our KYC.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that there are specialized tools that can help parts of this better, but have also moved a lot over the last couple of years in terms of storing sensitive data. So there are options to do at least parts of it.
Yeah, and I think also for SME customers, there's a lot of that goes for private customers as well. But there's a lot of like public data sources that we also need to source data from. Of course, we could probably build that into a HubSpot enabled flow, but there are just better tools out there where they integrate directly with those data sources, so that we can check for sanctions or politically exposed persons and so on.
Running out of time here, but I just love your take on a final closing question from Michelle. If you were to start over and go back to day one with HubSpot, what's something you would have done differently here?
Oh, great question. I think actually that we should have gotten more stuff into HubSpot from day one. I think we could actually have done more from day one.
So the gradual approach, not necessarily regretting that, but you can also maybe pull a little more into it.
Yeah, I think so. But I think also fair to say there was a bit of sort of internal resistance in the organization when we started out. So we also for other reasons had to start small. But I think that is in general a very good approach. But definitely I think we could probably have done more faster, even though. Yeah.
And then maybe a final closing one from Brian here, just on the finish line. To which extent do you rely on external assistance at this point? I swear, this isn't me that asked them to ask. Assemble a team of internal super users, or does it make more sense for you to involve external consultants from time to time?
I think we have a very good mix of that. So we have definitely internal super users on the system, but there are still more things, and I would say perhaps more on the strategic level. So that's often sort of the discussions I have with you, Emil, on sort of more sort of the strategic application of HubSpot into various parts of our business and so on. Obviously, that quickly turns into very tactical and operational things within HubSpot. But I think having that mix of not necessarily just having the internal super users that are very much into the detail, but also having like external consultants that can help you see the bigger picture is a good mix for us, at least.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. The day-to-day admin stuff is handled very well internally. When we're talking new applications of larger features or more strategic discussions that doesn't necessarily relate to specific HubSpot technicalities,
but definitely having internal super users is key, because you need to be able to set up workflows and automations and change deal pipelines and whatnot on a daily basis with very sort of quick time to internal market, at least.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Esben, and thank you for everyone who stayed until the end here. Good session, and hope to see you all on the next one that we'll be hosting sometime after summer.
Thank you so much, Emil and Lars, for the opportunity. It was a great pleasure.
Of course.
Great presentation, Esben. Thank you.
Thank you.